Hello there! As we approach Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025, I just want to talk about the 3 new eras introduced into Star Wars canon that we're yet to see any content on. We know there are a load of movies in the works. Kathy Kennedy, it feels like every time she does an interview, a new movie is announced, or at least one of the old movies that we thought was long forgotten is coming back and still being worked on. So this video will go over all of them. A few projects have been cancelled, I'm afraid. Thankfully, Lando isn't one of those. We'll get onto that later on in this video. But the 3 eras were announced about a year or 2 ago and weren't really pushed too heavily because, well, there's just simply no content around these 3 eras. We have the Dawn of the Jedi, which is set even before the Old Republic, which itself is also now part of canon. Old Republic is going to be explored, and I'm so happy we're finally going to get some new content on that. Speaking of which, the game Star Wars The Old Republic, the MMO RPG, the mass multiplayer online game, had got an update a few days ago. So I'm definitely going to have to hop back on that and play some of that. I just really want to know what's happening with this KOTOR. But we've also have a jump forward ahead of the sequel trilogy. Of course, we know Daisy Ridley is reprising Rey at some point in the new Jedi Order era, which is going to be really interesting to explore. And I wonder how that's going to link to the others. I have a feeling there's going to be a bit of symmetry. It's going to rhyme with the Dawn of the Jedi, and we're going to see a lot of to and fro between them. They seem to be the bookends of our Star Wars universe, and though I'm sure in decades' time we'll probably get movies set before and after these, I'm quite happy with that for now. The first era I talked about was Dawn of the Jedi, and for this I have this all written down, so hopefully I am not forgetting anything. But if there is bits that I am missing out, let me know down in the comments so that everyone else can also be in the know. For Dawn of the Jedi, we've got a comic book series and a movie in the works. No news on either of these. They're still trying to, I guess, write the stories for the comic books and movies, and no doubt, like with the Acolyte show and all the High Republic books, they're going to want to keep them closely related to each other so that neither of the stories cancels out the other one. But I'm really interested in the movie. We have a few scheduled movies as well, so we actually have dates for some of these movies, and I'm sure with Star Wars Celebration coming up in just over a month's time, we're going to get a lot more information, hopefully about all of these projects, but at least about a handful. Moving forward to the Old Republic, I think Dawn of the Jedi is meant to be like 1,000 years or so many thousand years, and then Old Republic is like halfway to Dawn of the Jedi. So there's still so much space between Dawn of the Jedi and then the big Jedi Sith infighting and what we know through the KOTOR and SWTOR video games. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of that on screen. For the Old Republic, we do have a Star Wars The Old Republic update, like I said, with the game, which is nice that Disney are still working on it. I did worry back in 2012 when a lot of games like Tiny Death Star were dropped that the Old Republic games would be one, but they seem to be including that as a part of their Old Republic. Technically, it's not canon, but I'm thinking it's probably going to end up like the novels where as long as none of the movies say otherwise, everything is basically canon. We've also got a Knights of the Old Republic series, which is no doubt going to hit Disney Plus rather than broadcast weekly in cinemas. And this is in place of the video game. I called it on a live stream these last couple of weeks. I've been saying that the Star Wars video game, the Knights of the Old Republic video game, they're probably going to work on it, realize it's mostly cutscenes, because though it was quite a puzzle orientated game, a lot of the older video games are just getting to another planet so you can experience another cutscene. So it would work better if they brought this into a series and also introduce this to a ton more fans. That is definitely going to have a knock-on effect and make the game more popular. Both of the games, there are 2 of them, and I need to play the second one because I feel like I haven't played it in ages. But on top of the series and the update to the pre-existing games, we're still waiting on Eclipse, which, as far as this video, it hasn't been announced by leakers or otherwise, Disney, Star Wars, that it's been cancelled. So we have to assume they are still working on getting Eclipse out. We got a little sneak peek and I did like the way it was looking. A bit of the game reminded me of certain aspects of Force Unleashed and all these Old Republic games, and being set in the Old Republic era, I don't think there's much more we could ask for. So hopefully we get some updates on Eclipse in Star Wars Celebration, but then jumping all the way to the other side of the Star Wars timeline, we have the new Jedi Order, and we actually have more than I realized for this era in the works. Of course, we've got the Rey movie, which I am excited about, and that could possibly be a trilogy. We know that Simon Kinberg is working on a Star Wars trilogy which relates to Rey's movies. Now, Rey will probably have her own movie, and then they could try to do another trilogy. I doubt this will be a 10, 11, 12. This will probably be an unrelated trilogy to the Skywalker saga, but it's still definitely going to link into what Rey has in mind for the Jedi Order, considering she's likely to be the Grand Master unless Grogu has suddenly aged a little bit or we get Yoda 2.0. As well as this, we also have a few other Jedi in the midst for the new Jedi Order. We don't know yet what happens with Cal Kestis, and it doesn't feel like Disney are rushing out that third Jedi game, which is really, really cool, because if we get this after the movies and can even see a Cal Kestis in live action in like 10 years time, that would be really awesome. And I guess we're slowly building up a council of Jedi. We've got Rey, we've got Grogu, we've got Cal, we've got Ezra. We could possibly even see the return of Ahsoka, because we know from the Tales of the Jedi and her original village that her species do live to be quite old, and being a Force sensitive like Yoda was, and Kenobi and a few other characters in Star Wars, chances are she's going to live a little bit older than everyone back home. There are some other movies that have been cancelled, I'm afraid, directors that have just got too busy schedules, and like I said, we've also got some confirmed dates from Disney of when movies will be hitting cinemas. But before we get to that, there's also a new era of content right here on the channel. Well, at least in terms of the audio quality going forward. What I'm recording with right now is my old microphone that will probably still have a video or two coming out on the channel, but it's not the best, and I've seen the comments over the last couple of months, so I've gone and purchased a DJI mic, which is meant to be one of the best mics on the market, at least lapel mics or lavalier mics that I can pick up. DJI do have a mic too, so if this is any good, maybe in a few years I will make the upgrade. But I've got the big bundle, 2 mics, and also a snazzy charging case. I haven't opened this before, so hopefully everything is here, but you can see it's still wrapped up in the box. So let's open it and take a little look at what's inside. First off, this case is very, very nice to look at, but inside you can see we've got 2 mics. A green light looks good. Hopefully this has some charge so I can record the rest of this video. And you can see on this receiver that the batteries are almost full, and the mics right now, straight out of the box, are picking up my voice. You can see the microphone levels on the front are peaking just like I'm seeing right here on OBS. So just to show you how good this microphone is, this is me using my old microphone, and this is just my generic audio coming through the phone I'm recording with. And this is the brand new DJI mic. Now the good thing about this mic, if hopefully I cannot disturb the speaker in any fashion, I can not only just clip it to my top, which is probably best done around the collar, but there's also a little magnet that comes attached to the back that allows me just to magnetize it anywhere on my t-shirt, which is really nice compared to bunching it up and trying to clip it like I did the old one. But chances are I will probably also have this mic exactly where I had the last one, clipping it on the bandana, and if it does look silly enough, perhaps we can put it back on the t-shirt. But now hopefully this is ready to go straight away. I might play around with it just a little bit and record what you've just watched and what you're about to see. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the video, and let me know what you think about this microphone upgrade in the comments. Now that I've got that set up, some of the cancelled projects we've got from Star Wars that might be announced, a lot of these have already been kind of announced through, like I said, busy schedules, but a lot of the directors and filmmakers are really pushing to have their own Star Wars shows, and I can't blame them. If I had the opportunity to have a Star Wars show, I wouldn't let a busy schedule stop that. I'd drop everything for Star Wars, but I understand why other people can't. First off, we're going to start off with the real Marvel Jesus. Kevin Feige is obviously busy with a lot of the Marvel stuff, being the main man over in the MCU, so it does look like his Star Wars project isn't happening. We also have J.D. Dillard, who had a Sith themed movie based on Exegol, which was looking to be really cool, but has been cancelled. And I think this was quite some time ago when we were looking at the Rian Johnson trilogy. More news on that later. And a lot of the other movies that were planned that spun off. We had a Kenobi movie, we had a Book of Boba movie, which then became series on Disney Plus. And there wasn't room for everyone to have a show. There was barely room for all these movies that have been announced since like 2019. Also, the Game of Thrones showrunners, similar to Rian Johnson, have been too busy with their Netflix contracts, and it doesn't look like they're going to be pushing back into Star Wars anytime soon. But let's speak a bit about the Lando show, because that's still in the works, and I believe KK last year said about still working with Donald Glover. And as with all of these younger characters that have been recast, the likes of Leia, Han Solo, I guess we've got a really young Luke, but I don't see him showing up outside of the Kenobi show. But she said about generally all of these actors aren't looking at being recast. So we're seeing the return of Donald Glover as well as the original Lando, Billy D. Williams voicing over the Lando show. But the generalization of what Kathy said in the interview, and I don't remember exact words, makes me think that the Lando show is going to have run-ins again with the likes of Han and Chewie, and maybe even a few of the characters. We could see Luke, we could see Leia. It would be odd to introduce them so early on in Lando's timeline, and kind of makes it a bit weird in Empire Strikes Back, but they could show up in all of these other shows. Star Wars is quite a small galaxy when you think about it, and a lot of these other movies do want to stray from the path and focus on other characters, but it doesn't mean we won't be getting any cameos in them anytime soon. So for the movies that we do know, May 22nd, 2026 is looking to be the next Star Wars movie. We were hoping for one later this year, but it looks to be the Mando movie, which again, we got more at that panel than I realized, because we're seeing the return of the Razor Crest. I'm going to have to rebuild that Lego set. I broke that down as soon as that thing was destroyed, and I thought that was never coming back. But apparently we're seeing its return. Perhaps Mando stumbles across another one when he's out bounty hunting with Grogu. But that movie is possibly directed by James Mangold, who is directing a movie we know nothing about. And it would kind of make sense to link them up. Obviously, the story is definitely going to be continued from the Mando series. This is basically season 4 in cinema, which just means they can ramp up the action, probably get a little bit of a bigger budget, though the Mandalorian series definitely had that movie-sized budget. So the budget for this is going to be crazy. Think of, I guess, episode 10, but based on The Mandalorian. I'm really excited for this. We also have a movie 4 days later, May 26th, 2026, next year. And originally, I thought this could be the Rey movie because it fits the 3 years since it being announced in 23, which lines up to the roughly 3 years they were working on Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker, though I guess that probably was a bit more like 2 years. But I also think this could be the new A Droid story, which is based around 3PO and R2 with a brand new hero, and definitely going to feel a little bit similar to the animated show that we're all used to seeing. It is on Disney Plus if you haven't already watched it, and this is with Lucasfilm Animation. So hopefully it's in a slightly updated, similar style, and don't end up looking like the new Minecraft movie or the new SpongeBob and Plankton movie, because I'd much rather it look like the classic show. But this is going to follow 3PO and R2 with a brand new hero, so not the character from the show, unless they are trying to introduce one of them into canon. But I just think that would be unnecessary considering they're in the show already, and it just feels like a wasted movie if they're remaking everything. We could see one of the adventures that they mention in Star Wars, and there is a line, I think it's in A New Hope, or it might be, it must be in A New Hope, from that gap between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. We seem to be getting a lot of content in that era, and I think you could probably bet on it being between those two movies. But the fact that this could come out alongside Mando does line up. I'd definitely be going to see them both back to back if this is the case. No matter what, I think a lot of people will be showing up on the 26th expecting to get into both of those movies, and having a live action show like The Mandalorian or a movie alongside an animated movie, maybe something for a younger audience compared to Mando, that's going to be for sure a ton of explosions. I think it would work really, really well. We have one final confirmed date for Star Wars movies in cinema, and that is December 17th, 2027, which could be the Dave Filoni movie. Now, people are speculating that the Mando movie is actually the Dave Filoni movie, but I think tying in Boba and Mando does work quite well to tie the both of those in, especially if this is going to be mostly happening on Tatooine. However, I think tying in Ahsoka, that means that Thrawn is going to show up, because Ahsoka's going to have her own journey in season 2, and it being late 2027 gives us enough time to have that Ahsoka season 2, whether they'll do it like the Thrawn books and have it bounce in between Ahsoka and Thrawn, or whether this will just focus on Ahsoka, Sabine, and the rescue crew that comes over to Peridea to pick them up and take them back to go sort out Thrawn, which I think is going to then be what Filoni's movie is about. I think that would work a little bit better. That way you could tie it into Mando and Boba and whatever's happened in the Mando movie, because like I said, the Mando movie was originally going to be season 4, and then they're going big or going home with it. So we're going to get the Mando movie, which focuses on Mando and the little Mandalorian in Grogu. Maybe a bit of what's happened on Mandalore since, set up the wider universe as most movies do. Then I don't think we'll see another Book of Boba Fett, but Boba will definitely be appearing here and there across the universe. Ahsoka season 2 brings Ahsoka back so she can face Thrawn, perhaps teaming up with Ezra, who has maybe bumped in. I don't know how big the time jump will be between this, but if we jump after the sequel trilogy, we can have a little Rey cameo. That's not going to hurt anyone, and maybe even see Cal Kestis in live action, and then they just bring this new Jedi Order, and maybe that's where the movie ends off, then leading into Rey's next movies. I think that would tie it all together really, really well, but I can understand why people wouldn't want every single character popping up in one movie. Taika Waititi's also one who we're waiting on for a movie, and Star Wars seem to be really taking their time, waiting for Taika to have a script ready, because they know whatever he ends up writing is going to do well at the box office. He's recently got a new writer for the movie in February, so we're not expecting anything anytime soon, but it seems to still be going ahead, so we're probably looking at like 2028 and beyond, which so far Disney haven't announced any dates, so whenever Taika's ready, I guess we'll go ahead with that project, and hopefully we might even get some news on what the movie might be, what direction the movie might be heading in at Star Wars Celebration, but I wouldn't count on it, and this is more something for D23 or Celebration in a few years' time. Sean Levy, who's recently done Deadpool, is also working on Star Wars hopefully now. Just wrapped up Stranger Things the 6th of March. This movie is rumoured to star Ryan Gosling and be around the new Jedi Order. Perhaps we're being introduced to another Jedi that Disney have just plucked from their whole library of Legends characters. Maybe this one's new. We don't know, and hopefully we'll get some more news soon. Rian Johnson trilogy is still meant to be happening, but he did sign a very big deal with Knives Out and Netflix, so that's probably gonna take a while before he gets a bit of time to work on the trilogy. But I must say, Last Jedi has its problems, but the cinematography for that movie has made me really excited for a Rian Johnson trilogy. Rogue Squadron's also meant to be going ahead. We haven't officially got confirmation of that being cancelled. A few creative differences which have put a load of other names outside of Star Wars and working on their own projects. But it seems that Patty Jenkins is really trying to get this movie to mesh with Star Wars and still represents what she wants. This seems to be some sort of Top Gun meets Star Wars, and I can't wait to see all of the reference to the Rogue Squadron video game. Again, that's another one I've got to be playing. Andor Season 2 is the last update. There will be a mock update actually on my TIE Avenger, so stay tuned for that tomorrow. And of course the show is coming out in about a month's time. Star Wars Celebration, I'm sure we'll have a few little sneak peeks, so we will be going live that entire weekend, all 3 days, talking about the updates to Star Wars Celebration. Stay tuned for that. But that is everything we're expecting Star Wars near and far, and a few things that have been cancelled. I must say, I'm really excited to break out of the Skywalker saga, the complete saga, 1 to 9, 1 to 6, even 1 to 3, 4 to 6, just to get little bits that fill the gap. Hopefully the sequels will slot in and feel a bit more at home over the next couple of years, and I'm sure Dawn of the Jedi is going to cap off that end really, really nicely. And I'm interested to see how Disney and Star Wars work the universe that predates the Old Republic, because that's the earliest we've seen so far. Perhaps we can get a bit more of the Mortis gods, some more wills, and really see how the first Jedi form. And if we're looking at the Jedi forming, we're definitely going to get a little sneak peek of the very first Sith. So that's just going to broaden our knowledge of both of them. I'm excited. If you're excited, smash a like on this video, and may the bricks be with you always.